He felt the bone snap. He didn't scream. He looked his master dead in the eyes and said 5 words that would outlive every man in that room by 2,000 years.
I rule the most powerful empire the ancient world has ever known, and I am telling you I am not free. I have not been free for years, but a slave, a crippled, penniless slave who died before I was born, taught me what freedom actually costs. I owe him a debt I can never repay. So I am writing it down because someone after me will need these words the way I needed them.
An ancient city, a banquet hall, marble floors, bronze lamps, roasted meat, and spilled wine. A wealthy man, powerful, politically connected, untouchable, owned a young slave. Lean, quiet, dark eyes that watched everything and reacted to nothing. That night, the master wanted to entertain his guests with a demonstration. He grabbed the slave by the ankle, twisted, and kept twisting slowly while his guests watched over the rims of their cups.
The slave looked down at the hands on his leg. No panic, no begging. He spoke the way you would warn someone they left the door open, plain, factual, almost bored. You are going to break it. The master twisted harder. He wanted the reaction. The crack echoed off the marble. The slave did not scream. He said only this, "Did I not tell you it would break?" 5 words, then silence. The guests stopped chewing.
That exchange was witnessed and recorded by those present. The slave walked with a permanent limp for the rest of his life and reportedly displayed no distress beyond the factual warning. Think about what that means. He didn't grit his teeth to look brave. He had genuinely separated what was happening to his body from what was happening inside his mind. 2 different territories, 2 different owners, and that separation, that single, brutal skill, would go on to reshape philosophy, military strategy, and the private journal of an emperor. Years passed. The slave was freed not by revolt, not by escape, but by quietly outlasting his master's interest. He began teaching in a dusty city square with nothing. No podium, no title, no money. Just a limping man in a rough-spun tunic and a stick he used to draw in the dirt. But generals came. Senators came. Sons of wealthy men who could study anywhere chose the crippled freedman in the dust because his voice carried something their gold could not buy.
He crouched slowly because the leg never healed right and drew a line in the dirt with his stick. On the left side, he scratched 3 words, judgment, effort, response. On the right, reputation, body, other people, he tapped the left. This they cannot reach. Chain this list and you have taken everything from a man. He tapped the right. Touch only this and you have taken nothing. The students went quiet. One of them copied it down. That copy survived.
Those words did not stay in the square. Students copied them onto scrolls. The scrolls traveled to distant cities, to military outposts on the edge of empire. And within a generation of the slave's death, still limping, still owning almost nothing, still teaching until his last breath, a bound copy of his recorded teachings landed on the desk of the most powerful man alive. A man drowning in everything the slave never had. A man who would read one passage that night and never be the same.
I am an emperor. I have held this empire together for nearly 2 decades. My children have died. My closest advisors have betrayed me. Plague eats through my legions faster than any enemy sword. Every morning I fasten the imperial cloak and pretend I am equal to this weight. I am not. I have been pretending for 2 decades and the performance is cracking. No one around me can tell, but I am breaking in the only place that matters. Inside.
Picture this. The most powerful man on earth alone in a canvas tent on a frozen northern frontier, oil lamp guttering in the draft, cold wind pushing through every seam. And he is reading the words of a dead slave. Not military dispatches, not court intelligence. The plain, unpolished teachings of a crippled man who never owned a house. The emperor reads the line about the 2 lists, stops, reads it again, puts the scroll down, picks it back up, reads it a 3rd time.
Chain the first list and you have taken everything. Touch only the second and you have taken nothing. I have spent my entire reign defending the second list, territory, legacy, the approval of men who will forget my name in a century. And I have neglected the first, the only territory that was ever mine to govern. My judgment, my response, my next decision. Tonight I stop governing the empire. I start governing myself. That is where the empire actually lives.
Here is where the story bends. The emperor could have closed the scroll, gone to sleep, ridden to war and died a competent ruler who read some philosophy once. Instead, he picked up a pen, not to draft a military order, not to write his counsel. He began writing to himself, honest, raw, unguarded admissions of fear, doubt, and the daily fight to choose his own mind over circumstance. That journal cost him the one thing emperors never surrender, the illusion that they are unbreakable.
Every word I set down here is a confession that I am afraid, that I am not enough, that the emperor the world sees is a man shaking in a tent. I will never publish this. No one will read it. But I need the truth on paper because the slave was right. The leg can break. The empire can fall. The plague can take your children and your soldiers and your hope. But what you decide to do next, that belongs to no master, no plague, no god, only you.
One man owned nothing but his mind. The other owned the known world but not his peace. A slave and an emperor, separated by 100 years, connected by a single line drawn in the dirt. The slave's teachings were never meant to survive him. The emperor's journal was never meant to be read. Both endured because both carried the same uncomfortable truth most people spend their entire lives running from. Freedom is not what you are given. It is what you refuse to let go of. React or respond. Break or say the fact. You already know which one the slave chose. You already know what the emperor learned and still almost learned too late. The question is whether you'll wait decades to learn it yourself. If that line in the dirt means something to you right now, if you're grinding through something that's trying to break what it thinks it owns, then you are already in this story. And you are not in it alone. React or respond. Break or say the fact. You already know which one the slave chose. You already know what the emperor nearly learned too late. The question is whether you'll wait another decade to learn it yourself. If that line in the dirt means something to you right now, if you're grinding through something that's trying to break what it thinks it owns, then you are already in this story. And you are not in it alone. The slave lost his leg and kept his mind. The emperor lost his peace and found it in the journal of a man who owned nothing. 2,000 years later, the same line in the same dirt is waiting for you. Draw it. Decide which side you live on. Break the leg, never the mind. Subscribe to forge your iron mindset. The iron mindset.